We are live, just out and about. But I just wanted to hop on here, you know, um, go live a little bit and just talk about some of the things Rodney and I have going on. Some of the things we're working on. We talked to Weston, Weston Wenner. He should be coming on the podcast soon, which will be really awesome. I love Weston. He lives about, I don't know, he lives about an hour and a half away from me. Um, yeah, we've got Ryan Conkey that's going to be coming on the podcast soon, and it's definitely a really fun time right now because we've got kind of breeding season underway for a lot of people, and I'm really excited to see what people produce this year. I know Jen over at Mod Exotics, she just had a clutch of Karampas hatch, which I think is awesome. I think that's great for the industry, and just having those localities is going to be key for future keepers, future breeders. So I'm really excited about that. Um, Trying to think who else. I think is it. Well, I think it's May Ray out of Salt Lake. He's got some Sumatrans, I think, that are underway, or Sarams. I forget which ones that he's got that just laid, and he's working on the other one as well. But no, it's kind of an interesting time. I hope everybody had a great holiday season, and you know, um, it's when it comes to some of the stuff that I'm working on. I think I've got two or three females that will definitely go this year. I've learned a lot the last couple months in calling my shot when it comes to calling my shot too early, so to speak, and looking for the different kind of breeding signs. And once again, I don't claim to be some like seasoned breeder and knowing everything. And I think sometimes sometimes people come after me because they're like, there was a comment on one of the podcasts from some guy calling me the Ryan Seacrest of retics, which I thought was hilarious. And I was like, that's actually a great marketing term. And I was like, do you know how much Ryan Seacrest is worth? He's worth like, I don't know, $500 million. So I was like, I'll take that as a compliment. But no, it's funny, man. I mean, I feel like there's always going to be drama with people, and there's certain people that are just antagonists, and people that come out of the woodwork and will try to attack you for no reason. And my big thing is people can have their opinions. People can dislike me or dislike what I'm doing or whatever, but I always like to try to flip it back on them. Like, what kind of value are you bringing to the table? I mean, our whole goal with the Next Gen podcast was to give people the opportunity that might not have a platform or might just be getting started to talk about their journeys with retics. And so when we're getting attacked and we're getting these random, well, I shouldn't say random, it's usually just a handful of people that are kind of coming after us. But we get a lot of attacks from burner accounts, and it's just crazy, man. It's crazy that you try to do something positive, and people are gonna find a way to hate and attack you no matter what. And that's just the world we live in, right? But overall, it's been really good. We took a little bit of a break in December from the podcast, but like I said, Ryan Conkey, Weston Wenner, we're going to be bringing on, I think we're going to be talking to a couple reptile shipping companies. I think we're going to be bringing King Snake back on. They've got some cool updates that they've just rolled out. And I'm working on some longer form content too. We've got the beginner retic breeding or breeder 101 series that we're kind of working on as I'm working through my first breeding season, and kind of taking that step by step as things progress. So it's been really fun, and overall it's been, like I said, a very positive and good thing. But I don't want to stir the pot, but I think we're kind of crossing this bridge in the retic or superdwarf or locality space right now, where Everyone's there's some confusion kind of in the market. I'm actually working on this long form video talking about specifically the Coyote locality, right? And this isn't an opinion. This isn't me trying to stir drama with anybody in the community. It's just simple facts. Like when I bought my pair of Coyotes from Reach Out, I bought them because they were beautiful, number one. But number two, I bought them as a super dwarf, or a super dwarf pair. And it was interesting because Dax made a post about, are Coyote super dwarfs? Are they dwarfs? And everybody was pretty much in agreement that, they're more of a medium sized locality. And I agree 100% with that. But in terms of the labeling, that's where we start having some issues, right? I'm not talking about, making pure Coyotes because I think we have some established lines of Coyote. But I think when it comes to morph crosses and morph combos and different things like that, and you've got quote unquote Coyote blood in there that qualifies it as a super dwarf, if it's 40 something percent Coyote, 30 something percent Kalatoa, I think we run into some pretty big issues, especially if like it's not considered a super dwarf. So those marketing terms and some of those things that kind of came up originally, if that's Reach Out or whatever, I think there's some issues with that, and I think it's just it needs to be kind of addressed. And for someone like me, it's like I'm trying to figure out, well, if I utilize my Coyote female this year because I'm planning to, it's like how do I end up marketing that correctly, right? And it's not a debate of me trying to debate the size thing, because I agree wholeheartedly that they're larger than those other three localities, right? But see, these are some of the issues as these animals get older, right? In these different localities, and you're feeding them properly, they do grow. So anyway, I've just been thinking a lot about that topic because I know Rodney's talked pretty heavily about moving away from, the super dwarf or the dwarf terms and focusing on locality percentage and, kind of staying true to some of that instead. And I agree, but then it's like I think as a community, we kind of need a point of reference where, there's some form of, I don't know, there's like some form of acceptance throughout the community. Like, okay, what is realistic when we're looking at all these different localities, in terms of size? And once again, I don't think we know 100%. And that's the problem. That's the problem with having the marketing terms, because, essentially, if you don't know something, but you're talking in absolutes, I think that's a big problem. Like, hey, like, I think this could be this, right? But I'm going to coin it as this or market it as this because I know it's going to benefit me for now. But when that animal gets up to 5, 6, 7 years old, things could change, right? So once again, I'm not trying to stir up drama with it, but it is a topic that I think has to be addressed. And, I'm kind of the person that's experiencing it firsthand with my Coyote female, because, as far as I know, currently she's in her pre-ovulation shed right now. So it's like, and I don't want to, I don't want to pass along bad marketing terms or, try to just push stuff, because I don't think that's ethical, So anyway, like I said, I'm working on that to try to, and more or less it's an open-ended question that I'm asking, with this video that I'm going to be doing, which is, hey, let me read all these comments from, all these different keepers and breeders and their experiences with this locality. And that's what they've said. This is what has been said before. This is what I was told. What's the best way forward on this? Because, once again, I think we're moving to a new phase in the locality retic market, or the retic market, where people are getting invested more into localities. And it's not just due to size anymore. It's due to, It's due to color and pattern and all those other great traits that some of these animals and localities have. So anyway, it'll be interesting, and I'm trying to be, tactful with it so that it's very just, here are the facts, and I want to hear from everybody else, like what, how do we how do we look at this moving forward, and how do we market these animals correctly so that new keepers or new people that are coming in and wanting to own and buy these animals are getting the proper information. And so anyway, that's something that will be interesting. Like I said, my Coyote female is deep into her shed, and she's kind of gotten sluggish a little bit. Like she doesn't want to move much. She's kind of getting agitated a little bit too. And the shed has taken forever. She's been in shed for, I don't know, 7, 8 days, and she doesn't want to move. So I'm hoping those are all good signs for pre-ovulation shed. And then my other two females, my 68.75% SD head OGS is acting kind of insane. And then so is my pure SD female from Daniel Solis that just refuses to grow. She's probably about 6.5, 7 feet. But both of them have just been ornery, man, when it comes to their attitudes, and they're thickening up too. So I'm hoping, with everything that's kind of gone on in Utah, and we've had a really crazy, weird winter. We've gotten almost no snow, and December was the warmest December I think we've ever had on record. So I think, with all that being said, some of these, cycles and females are being pushed. And I've been in close contact with May Ray Mason from May Ray Exotics out of Salt Lake, and he's doing the Sumatran stuff and the Saram stuff, I think. And he's basically telling me the same thing, that his females are starting to cycle. He's got one clutch, I think, that he just collected or whatever. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But I'm excited to get back into kind of a routine when it comes to having a podcast and everything like that. I don't know if is the chat even open. Let me see. Oh, here we go. My chat was off, so I apologize. Let me see. Oh, let me click on this. I think the biggest issue is all the SD will only hit 6 feet. BS creates false marketing, and those marketing terms needs removing from the conversation. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%, Darren. I think I think a lot of the old BS that everybody was hooked on, even I was hooked on it to a degree back in 2020 when I started looking into buying from Garrett. But to say that certain animals were going to stay 6 feet, I think was just that was just a total exaggeration. Yeah, I don't think that's really possible. I know there's been some wild caughts and some imports that have come in and they've stayed pretty small, and I know that there are those outliers that have stayed pretty small. But that could be due to a number of different factors. If you feed your animals on average, I feel like they grow. Now, in terms of the rate of growth, I think that varies depending on how much mainland blood is in there. But even clutch mates can get kind of different sizes. So that's why I really hate kind of the absolutes, like this locality is only going to get up to, 7 feet or 9 feet or whatever. And the problem with the Coyote stuff is like, the people the information was there. It's not like, hey, I don't know, and so I'm going to give you this giant range. It could, who knows, they could get up to like Jampea sizes, right? So are we? So when we talk in absolutes, like it's only going to get this big, I think that's just so disingenuous, and it's deceiving, and it's ultimately a sales tactic that I think has been used. So The cool thing though of what I'm seeing, just talking to other breeders and seeing what people are buying, it's aesthetics. I think is really the aesthetics is kind of number one, and then obviously sizing is up there too. But I think people are really trying to focus on just making cooler looking stuff, and that's exciting. That's really exciting for me. I think it's exciting for the market, and with what people are picking up and their future breeding plans, I think people are starting to think outside the box, which is really fun and really creative, and once again very healthy for the market in general, because not everybody's trying to do the same. Hey, I'm going to take a pure Kalatoa to this 2 or 3 gene combo or whatever, right? So anyway, it should be pretty cool and exciting. And I know Rodney's got, I think he's got, I don't know, Ternates, Halmas, Mindanaus. He's got clutches, I think, from those 3 in the incubator as we speak. So yeah, people are just branching out more, and I love to see that. And Rodney and I still need to do a 2025 recap video. I think that'd be really cool. We had a bunch of people submit, breeder of the year, keeper of the year, top 5 animals. I think we had 4 or 5 different categories, so we still need to do that video. And I think that will be really good. And I think that will tie in. I know Rodney did a prediction video for 2026. I think that will tie in pretty well because, like I mentioned before, there's been a dramatic shift in a relatively short amount of time. I'd say in the last probably 2-3 years, we've seen kind of that shift happen where people are starting to look into Ternates and Halmas and Mindanaus and all those localities. And so now I'm starting to question too, like, how do I integrate some of those things into some of the breedings that I'm wanting to do? But at the same time, I've got some cool animals, and I think I'm probably going to stay the course on a lot of that stuff. But I know Rodney and I are planning on. We've got some things in the works too. So there's a lot of things happening kind of all at once, but ultimately, I think that the biggest piece of advice and the biggest thing I've kind of learned is, over the last 4 years of owning these animals, enjoying them, there's just been so many people come and go. And so really just focusing on just trying to take it easy, take it slow, enjoy your animals, and get what you want. Because if you're passionate about the animals that you have and the projects that you're working on, then it's very easy to get other people excited about what you're working on, But if you're just trying to chase trends, and I've seen this with even some top breeders as well, where they're trying to do 500 different breeder loans, and it's like every other day their plans are switching. And number one, I don't want to work with somebody and do a breeder loan with somebody that, today they want to do this and then tomorrow they want to do something else. I mean, if somebody can't, and I'm open obviously to discussing things with people, but if it's like every day you're changing your mind, that just tells me that you're not, you don't have the decision making capability to like be confident and to move forward and have clarity. So but I've seen that a lot, and then because of that you get burned out, or and there's a lot of people too that they want to do the breeding stuff, and then they want to try to find like the perfect source to sell their stuff or whatever. And that's fine. I think once again, if you're working with somebody specifically, but if you're just kind of trying to, throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, I think that you get burned out, And so burnout is a real thing. And so my biggest piece of advice is just go after what you're looking, go after what you're passionate for, or passionate about, I should say. And even with the Coyote stuff, we'll figure that stuff out. I bet I'll get a bunch of feedback and maybe even some blowback from this video that I'm working on. But ultimately, I'm posing the question, like, what do we do? Because I think coyotes right now, I could be wrong. I got to look into morph market, but I think they're considered super dwarfs on morph market too. So there's just a lot of different things. And then in terms of the adoption of like, okay, and that's why I'm probably going to be naming the video or calling the video, is coyote the catalyst to changing the retic marketing terms? Like, is coyote going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back kind of thing on this thing, and kind of bust it open? Because I mean, it's not fun. Like being an owner of coyote and being told like, hey, you essentially everybody thinks it's a dwarf now and labeling it as a dwarf. So does that deplete or devalue anything that has coyote in it or pure coyotes? That's one thing that I've kind of thought about too, where it's like, okay, is that going to actually happen? Or anyway, so there's a lot of ways you can kind of look at the situation. But like I said, I really want to hear from the community. But the other problem too is, even if there's kind of a mass majority of people all agreeing, there's going to still be those people that want to keep it as it was for whatever, for profit or for gain or whatever, for their marketing. So that's that's the line that we're kind of at, and that's the line in the sand. So anyway, I've thought about it a lot, and ultimately, I think with Coyote, the cool thing about the Coyote locality, even though it is bigger than most super dwarfs, is some of the color saturation, in my opinion, is better on Coyote in some ways than your average run of the mill Kalatoa. I think for back pattern too, I think there's some cool things there. They kind of got some like a wider dorsal back pattern. So there's some things that you can play with. I think on the polygenic side, that I'm gonna see how these morphs kind of intertwine with some of those different traits. And so I think it's still going to be really fun to use Coyote. And that's and I love my Coyote female. I mean, she's just the biggest sweetheart too, and she's been an amazing animal. And I want to pass some of those traits on too to the babies and make great pets. So, but yeah, I remember Garrett, and I'm trying to think if there's other people that have done a lot of morph combos with Coyote. I know Rodney mentioned that he made I think it was a platinum tiger Coyote back in the day, and he said it looked really nice. Yeah, I think it was a platy tiger. But just kind of thinking about it and thinking about some of those traits and thinking about what we're looking at, it'll be really interesting to just see how some of these babies turn out if everything goes the way it should on that front. But I know Garrett did, I think it was a Sunfire clutch, 50% Coyote, something else, a couple other super dwarf, maybe some Kalatoa in there. And those turned out, I think those turned out really cool. If I remember correctly, this was when he was at his house in the basement, and those sold like hotcakes. Now, I haven't seen any of those animals from that clutch. I just remember as babies, though, like the orange and those Sunfires were just awesome. And so I am excited to just kind of play around with some of the color there as well. Darren, I think you popped up. I think you said if you want thicker blacks, Coyote is the way to go. I agree. I think there's more separation between the blacks and some of the like silvers and stuff like that. And then they've got a little bit more kind of orangey hue, orange and yellow hues as well. So that's why I'm excited to take this kind of this crazy male from Nathan Katz. It's got, I don't know, 4 or 5 genes in it, and I think it's a platy, sun tiger, golden child, het snow. I think it's a het snow. Maybe it's a visual anery het purple, pos het something. But yeah, so it's got a lot of different morphs kind of crammed in there. So I'm excited to kind of see this. And a big reason I'm doing this too is my kids have been so excited for the process of, finally having babies and eggs, and so I kind of look at it kind of like the Easter egg clutch where we don't know what's going to pop out, and it should be fun, and it's going to be different. I know Jen. I'm trying to think. Did Jen do? Jen didn't do Kaiwati, did she? No, she did like I think it was mostly Kalatoa. It was a very similar clutch. I think they're low 80% Super Dwarf. And those, she has a Sun Tiger and an Anery Sun Tiger, I think, from that clutch that looked pretty cool. So, but like I said, I don't think she used Kaiwati. Ours will be, I think, just a little bit higher. And I think it'll be 84% Super Dwarf, mostly Super Dwarf with some Dwarf in that range. But yeah, my kids are excited. I mean, they ask me every day, like, hey, when's Sarabi having babies or whatever. And so that, I mean, that's a big reason why I'm doing that clutch too. And not to mention, I've gotten, man, over the last 2 years, I can't tell you how many people have reached out that really they just want one, or they want not a lower end animal per se, but just a really good pet. And I think we'll be able to have some cool combos out of that clutch, and it'll be really fun to kind of do that with the kids. And my second oldest, actually, his name's River, and he's kind of my salesman. It's hilarious because the other day he was like, "Dad, can I go out and sell?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Can I go out and put a table out?" It's like, "What are you trying to sell? You trying to do like a lemonade stand?" And he was like, "No, I want to go sell. I want to go sell some of my Pokemon cards." I was like, "All right." So I put a table out. He put it on the driveway and put his Pokemon cards out and was like, laid them out. And I was like, "How much are you going to charge per card?" And he's like, "I don't know, like probably $30." I was like, "That's a little steep." And these aren't even, I mean, these are kind of lower grade Pokemon cards. These are not like graded high end Pokemon cards. It's like, that's a little steep, bud, but let's get some snacks out too, and do like a dollar for these cards, and then do like $3 for your holographic cards. And we got the snacks out, and and then we had some cars driving by and nobody was stopping. I was like, "Well," I was like, "Do they even know you're selling Pokemon cards?" He's like, "You know what, Dad? I think I need to make a sign." So then he made a sign like Rivers Pokemon stand is what he made. And then lo and behold, we had, somebody down the street came and gave him $10 and picked up some cards and stuff. But he loved it, man. So, the point of that story is, I think he's very money motivated and loves to sell. And so I'm probably gonna set up some sort of a commission structure for him on that. And then my oldest son, he's got a very like creative mind. He likes he watches YouTube, Dude Perfect and some of those other ones. And so I'm trying to get him to kind of take over my content or whatever at some point. He's still young. He's like 8, but he looks like he's 11. He's going to be huge. He's going to be huge. But so I want to get those two involved once we kind of get everything set up and we start having some clutches, and it'll be really fun to train them on that and have them clean. They already help me clean. They have been for a number of years, but it'll be, it's just that's the part of the whole process where I can't wait for, you know. So that will be exciting. And then my super phantom from Andrew Acevedo is growing pretty well. I kind of had him on a bulk diet, and he was, getting pretty thick, and now he's starting to stretch out, and he's looking good. So I'm hoping, like I said, not trying to jinx myself or call my shot here, but I really feel like my Kaiwati female is in her pre-ov shed, and as soon as she sheds out, I'm putting in Nathan Katz's crazy comboed male in there with her, and then those other two, the het OGS, should be following pretty shortly. I would say hopefully in the next month if she goes. And then my Daniel Solis female, yeah, I mean, same thing. It's interesting because I was talking to Eric Lee, and he basically said that a lot of Daniel's stuff proved out to be het anery or visual anery. So originally I was going to take my hypo male to her to make hets. Excuse me. But I don't know. I might hit up Eric. We've got a potential other plan because I put him in there with her a couple times just to make some intros and see how they interacted, and they were really chill with each other. But no, he hasn't shown any signs of wanting to do the deed. So we'll see what happens there. So those are the three that I have. But then, like I said, I've got some other plans in the works right now. I've got some collaborations, some partnerships and stuff that I'm working out right now too, which will be pretty cool, I think. So I'm hoping to have some really solid babies this year. And it'll be really fun to kind of see what unfolds and what people produce. But already it's seems like there's going to be a lot of really solid localities on the market. I mean, pretty much, I would assume almost every locality in some way, shape, or form is going to be available. Medu's, I don't know who's producing. I know Jen has some Medu's, but I don't know if they're going to go this year. I don't know who else has pure Medu's. Does Joe Ceballos have Medu's? He might. I'm not sure. But anyway, no, I just wanted to hop on here quick, and I really want to hopefully just be able to pop on here once a week and update you guys on what's going on and make some more long form content. And then as we get deeper into breeding season or, figure out what's going on, then kind of give you guys updates. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. And somebody asked me, who was it? Was it Dylan? I think Dylan over at Clarity Creations was asking me how we got, you know, so much traction or so many subscribers on this channel. And honestly, it was all from just YouTube shorts. And so if you want to hack to kind of getting some traction when I started this channel four and a half years ago, 4.5 years ago, we were just cranking out shorts, like multiple shorts a day. And then we had one go super viral, like hit like 35 million views. But yeah, I didn't put out a ton of long form content outside of some unboxing videos. And then obviously we have our naturalistic universal rocks enclosure build video that took me like multiple years to edit and to get up just because it was a beast of a video. And it's so funny going back and watching yourself and like hearing yourself from a number of years ago. And my wife was like 9 months pregnant at the time. I had some sort of weird sinus infection where like if you hear me on that video, I just sound sick the whole time. It's because I was sick for like 6 weeks. But I look back and I think back on all that, and man, I'm glad I documented it because number one, it was a ton of work, and it's a good reminder of just how many hours I put into those enclosures. But number two, I look back and I'm just like, man, time just flies by, and it was just a good reminder to enjoy life and enjoy your animals, and just seeing how fast some of these animals grow it's cool, but it's also kind of sad too, where you're like, man, it's crazy she's that big. But that's the cool part about being in retics or smaller locality retics or whatever you want to call them. It's like it forces you to be patient. Now, obviously, you can go out and buy adults. And I wanted to make a plug for Eric Leon here. I know I've brought it up before, but I know he's going to be offloading a bunch of his really nice adults. It should almost be available now, but offloading a lot of his really nice stuff, and because he's got a bunch of stuff, bunch of hatchlings and some grow up stuff that's going to be moving into some of his other enclosures. So if you guys want some really nice adults and you're just getting started, I would go grab a female or two from Eric. I think that would be a great investment. But no, I mean, ultimately, it's a cool, it's a cool thing, and I think you have to just learn to enjoy the process and not be going for these giant home runs, but be going for base hits and just you know and not scaling too quick, or really try not to scale at all at a certain point. Um, I think people get in like way over their head when it comes to the amount of animals they're keeping, then the babies, then their time, and then there's pressure to sell, and then there's pressure, just kind of across the board. And like I said, I'm kind of getting into this phase two where I'm getting, my racks, and I mean, getting kind of stuff set up. And you don't realize that phase one is buying enclosures, buying animals, enjoying that process. And then you're, going into phase two, it's like you're kind of starting by injecting more money into this thing that you're doing going into phase two, right? And so just enjoy it and take your time. And I think, like I said, I've learned a lot of valuable lessons over the last 4 years in terms of this market and this industry. And the other thing I'd say is, like, you know I feel like we've created a pretty good community with next gen, and people are pretty open. But yeah, just don't let people bully you, because even when you try to do like everything right, people are still going to have problems with you, where they're going to find ways to call you the Ryan Seacrest of retics, which I think's hilarious. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that when you take action in life, not to go off on tangents here, but like when you try to go and do something in life and take action, you know, people will project their insecurities or their problems or their issues, and find a way to try to tear you down. And so don't let people tear you down. It's a waste of time. Like, being concerned with what other people think, because at the end of the day, it's like nobody else is taking care of me, nobody else is paying my bills, or you know handing me a lottery ticket. It boils down to you and what you decide to do with your life. And this is just like, this is something that should be able to enhance like your happiness. And I think people miss that point because they get so caught up in drama, or being like, oh, this person's doing this and this, so I need to go attack them because you know they're getting traction over here, they're getting momentum, or they're having like good conversations with people that are uplifting, so I'm gonna go find a way to moan and complain. But yeah, I mean, just enjoy it. So anyway, no, this has been cool, and thanks for hopping on, guys. And once again, I'm gonna try to do some cool stuff. And Rodney and I have talked a lot about, once we have babies on the ground, whatever, we want to do some cool lives where it's like we're able to show some stuff off and just find a new format to kind of do that. I know historically, like, Garrett used to do some stuff. I don't know if he still does. I know historically other people have gone on like Instagram Live and showed some of their stuff. But the one thing that I've talked to Rodney about a lot is kind of the creative process of understanding how different morphs work, how different. I got cut off there, but ultimately, just like how all of that, how all those things actually work in real time. Like, oh, I took this male and this female because I was going for this, and this is the end result, and it didn't work out how I hoped, or maybe it did work out how I hoped, right? But really kind of breaking down the creative process or the artistic process of like a lot of these breedings that he's doing, and so people can more fully understand like how to make the best looking stuff, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Kind of the 101 or how to. So anyway, guys, much love. Thanks, Coiled Crew, for hopping on. We'll chat soon.